What's the book that got me back into reading? Let's talk about that. In my previous video, I talked through the list of books that I read last year and the ones that I've read so far this year. And in this video, I wanted to touch base on the book that I kind of give credit to making me more and more eager to read. It really got the ball rolling, and I have a feeling that it's not going to be the book from that list that you think it is when I tell you that I dove headfirst. It's by an author that I never would have touched. Actually, when I used to go to bookstores, and I actually used to work at a Barnes & Noble, and I would not even go near this section because I was like, I'm probably never ever gonna read a book by this author in my lifetime, so I don't even need to go look at the books. And I kind of had a fear about them. I don't know if that gives a wink wink hint. The book itself is a whopping 864 pages long, and this book is pretty genre bending. It has mystery, suspense, romance. It is thrilling. Did I already say that? Historical fiction. Kind of sci-fi a little with its time travel. Do you have any guesses? This book is none other than... Drumroll please. 11/22/63 by Stephen King himself. Never ever in my life did I think that I would be touching a Stephen King book. Just the description of the book alone really piqued my interest. And so I took a whack at it, and I did not think that I would ever get through it because of how big it was. I was like, I can try, and we'll see if I get to finishing it in the next few months. When I tell you that I finished this book, me, a non-reader person, when I tell you that I read a book with 864 pages in less than a week, and I already have a limited amount of time in my day when I can read because I'm married, I have a son, I have a job, and I can really only read when my son goes to bed. And I ate that book up. And all the characters, I still think about them. I still think about Jake Epping. And I still think about a few of the characters that I shouldn't talk about because it's a surprise. How to describe. It was just so good. Also, side note, I did not use an audiobook, which is a big deal because I feel like I can blow through books with the audiobook because you're just going about your day instead of having to physically hold the book and you have to sit down and pay attention. You can listen to it. So I'll listen to audiobooks while I drive and things like that. I didn't have an audiobook for this. And also, I'm a fresh reader. I'm a slow reader. So what was it about this book that got me reading? Number one, the chapters are short. Over the past year of reading, something that I have learned about myself personally is that I love short chapters. Short chapters allow me to feel like I am just blowing through the book. It just makes me feel like I'm reading fast. Does that make sense? And in turn, I end up reading fast. I don't know how that makes any sense, but I end up blowing through pages and I'm like, how did that happen? I just gain momentum, Especially because in books like this, every single chapter also ends on kind of a cliffhanger. So not only are you like, oh yeah, the next chapter, I can read it. I can read those few pages. It's also I really need to read the next few pages to find out what happens. And I love that. I just love it. It makes me confident in my reading also because I'm look, I am the kind of person who just checks her progress all the time. I'm constantly updating my fable of what, even if I read a couple pages, I'm like, oh, I need to go and find out what my new percentage is. I don't know if that relates to anybody else. Number two, the book keeps you moving forward. I kind of already touched on this, and it sounds kind of obvious that a book should do this, but this one did it so well. So in this book, there's specifically a couple characters that are mentioned here and there that make you eager to find out more about them. And because they're only scattered here and there, it keeps on pushing the story forward because you need to know. You need to know why this person is significant because you know that they're significant to the plot. Number 3, as I said before, this book is genre bending. At the surface, you'd think because it's called 11/22/63 and you read the premise and you're like, oh, this is about trying to stop the assassination of John F. Kennedy, that it is strictly historical fiction. From looking at the cover page of this book, you think, oh, historical fiction. To some people, historical fiction may seem boring. To me, I love historical fiction. Actually, it's becoming one of my favorite genres. But this book is not just historical fiction. Actually, that is just kind of like the setting. It's not necessarily the plot or anything, because it is also time travel. It is romance. It is thrilling. It is mystery and suspense. It's so fun. And the character work is so good, and you feel like you know these people. You feel like you've walked a mile in their shoes. Every single main person, and even some of the townspeople and like people that you meet along the way, and like, yeah, you just get to know everyone. Number 4, it was not scary at all. There was nothing like scary. Thrilling, suspenseful, yes, sometimes, but scary, no. In it not being scary, I think it really opened the door of my curiosity, because here I was seeing the name Stephen King and attributing that to scary things and horror. And yes, I know that he does write some really scary things that I probably will never read, but I guess I just didn't understand that authors can branch out, that my preconceived ideas about certain books, certain genres, certain authors and things as a non-reader really kept me from exploring and finding things that I actually like. Also, side note, if there are any books that are considered horror but are not gonna like keep me up at night or traumatize me, let me know. Because I'm kind of curious about the genre, but I will say that I think that something that keeps me from exploring the genre is I'm not a huge fan of like demonic things. I don't want to read about like demonic things. And so like if you can point me in the direction of like scary, spooky books that are more like spooky vibes and less like the devil and demons, like that'd be great. Because I don't want to read about that. But I don't want to like accidentally go in blind and then discover that I can't sleep anymore at night. Number 5, and I touched on this already, but Stephen King's writing, his writing style is so engaging. I've read a few other books by him already because I loved that book so much, and I will say the other 2 books that I've read 2 other books by him, and both of them are above a 4-star. One's a 5 and one was a 4.5 in my opinion. I just love his description of settings, his character work. Everything is so well described and flows, and you just feel like it's all unfolding before you in your mind, and like you don't really have to put in too much work to imagine what he's talking about and to imagine these people as if they are real. It's really engaging. It's not hard to like get into. Like there's some people who write very like or use big vocabulary that I never have ever heard of before, and his is just so approachable. It's not like dumbed down, but it's like approachable, and I just really like it. Number 6, it has helped me to overcome all of my excuses and fears when it comes to approaching other books. I accomplished reading something so large that when it comes to my approach in reading anything else, I'm like, girl, you read a book that was 864 pages long. You can read this 300-page book. It's taken away my initial intimidation of reading any book of any length. Now, Are there any aspects of this book that I didn't like? I don't know if this is going to be considered a spoiler. So if it is, then just move forward, I guess. But this book did have a few scenes in it that I kind of had to skim a little, or that I kind of wish I had skimmed a little bit more, because they're pretty violent. It's important to the story, unfortunately, and important to a certain character, or a few characters actually. Never made me feel like I wanted to DNF it or anything, but it did make me like queasy a little bit. And this part coming up is a spoiler, I think. It involves children, and that really gets to me. I don't like it. That was the only aspect that I didn't like about this book. The rest of the book was so good. I highly recommend this book to anyone, pretty much, because it is an intimidating size, and so that's probably the main reason why people will turn it away. Even if it sounds interesting to them, they're like, oh my word, that's just so long. It's such a commitment. But it really isn't that big of a commitment, because you're gonna fly through it. Just saying. In order to prove that this book really did get me out of my 30-year reading slump, is what I've been referring to it as, I have to read books after it. So what books did I read after it? Well, I'm glad you asked. I read 2 Agatha Christie books and Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney right after. So obviously I couldn't get enough of that mystery and thriller type zone that I was in. I had such a blast with it, and I gained some momentum with those thrillers. I can't remember what I read right after Alice Feeney. Let me look. Oh, right after. I guess I got into a whole kick of this, but I read Billy Summers by Stephen King. I will say Billy Summers by Stephen King, I've heard so many people rave about it, and unfortunately, I regret this now, but I did a physical book and listened to audiobook some of the time. Nothing against the narrator. The narrator was actually great, but I just, for some reason, every time that I listened to the audiobook, it really took me out of it, and I did not click with any of the characters. I honestly don't really remember a whole lot. I wasn't connecting with the story. In the future, I'd love to read it again and try it again and just physically read it, but it'll be a little before I get back to that. I still have in my notes that it was still a 4.25 or a 4.5 in my opinion, but yeah, 11/22/63 is a 5-star or more, way up there. And I think it's also because I just had such a good experience with it, and I'd love to have that with Billy Summers, but I'm gonna have to revisit. And then I read Normal People, and that's just not my vibe, I don't think. Nothing happened in that book. Nothing but sad things and miscommunication happened in that book, and I just didn't enjoy it at all. But anyway, so those are the few that I read after, and then the momentum just kept going into this year, and I've read all sorts of genres this year, and I'm loving it. So in my notes here, I have my Notion notes right in front of me, because I'm still pretty new to this YouTube thing, and so I'm trying to get more comfortable in front of the camera. I think vlogging and stuff will help. So my notes anyway, I have a question on here of, have I read any more Stephen King? The answer obviously is yes, because I just talked about Billy Summers, and so that one was 528 pages, and I already told you about my experience. In January, what's funny is that my experience with Billy Summers was that the audiobook took me out of it, but with this next one, I listened to the audiobook for the whole thing. I didn't have a physical. I couldn't get it from the library because my library didn't have it, but the premise of it was so fascinating that I was just I need to read this right now. So I downloaded the audiobook through my library app, and I listened to it, and the narrator was great for it, and the story itself, I think, just Like 11/22/63 is a 5, but this is a 6, and it's Doomakey. I was thinking about that earlier today. Like, not in relation to this video, but just thinking about the characters of that book and the story of that book. I can like picture it so vividly in my mind. I just loved it. It's probably one of my favorite books, honestly, because of all the books that I have read over the past few months, that is the one that I just think about a lot. I don't know why. Part of what got me hooked into it is that Doomakey is set in Florida on the East Coast, and I live there. So I can picture pretty much everything that this guy is describing. On top of that, I can like remember what I was doing when certain parts of the plot were happening, and I love the characters. Oh my word. I just love the characters. They're just so good. Also, a little pleasant surprise that I wasn't expecting is that towards the latter half, it becomes kind of like ghosty and paranormal a little bit, and I had never read anything like that. It was just so intriguing, and it kind of sneaks up on you, and the way that it happens is just so cool to me. And also the guy in it is an artist, or he's becoming kind of an artist, and so am I. I paint, and so I like loved all the descriptions of him working on these paintings and stuff. So, oh my word. I can't recommend Doomakey enough. And I forget how many pages that one was. 624 pages. So it's still a chunk. Still a chunker. It's actually more than Billy Summers. So, to summarize, 11/22/63, you need to go buy or borrow from your library, read it, devour it, and let me know what you think. Let me know if it gets you out of a reading slump or not. And also, check out Doomakey as well. Since we're talking about Stephen King, and I am interested in reading more from him, what will be my next read? I don't know. You should suggest which book you think I should read next. I know that I would love to read like Needful Things in the fall and The Shining in like winter time. It's kind of gonna go by what my library has pretty much, because I'm not gonna buy any of them just in case I don't like them. Let me know what you think my next Stephen King read should be, and let me know if there's any major books that got you back into reading as well. I'll see you in my next video. Hopefully it'll be pretty soon. Okay, bye. See ya! I'm gonna lock my door. My son has this toy that's like a guitar, and it only plays when you press the buttons, and I could hear it playing in the distance. But my son's asleep, and my husband's not here, and it's just me. That was creepy.